This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Riley Herbst from 2311 Racing here, and you know what grinds my gears? Waiting for coffee. But instead of counting frappes and lattes, I fire up Chumba Casino. No apps, no fuss, just fun social casino games to pass the time. By the time my coffee's ready,
order for Riley.
I've already taken a few victory laps. Next time you're stuck waiting, make it entertaining. Play for free at ChumbaCasino.com. Let's Chumba.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Check out our contest page to see how you could win a pair of passes to an advanced screening of Jurassic World Rebirth starring Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey in theaters July 2nd. KFAN.com keyword contest. Enter today.
Second hour, Bumper to Bumper. Guards in for Dan today. Brett Blakemore here as well. Johnny Athletic at 5:30. Pierre Nugent, Fox 9 Sports, is hanging out for a while. We're doing enough set on Friday as well, right?
We sure are.
Dan is off on Friday for TV, so it'll be you and me with Lori Fisher on Fox 9. Pierre's getting married 6 or 7 weeks from now.
Yeah.
We did get some wedding advice to the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line 64686. It's impossible to give advice. Every woman is different, but if they get mad, just start cleaning or doing chores. Do you know that trick yet?
I don't necessarily know the trick, but it's funny that just came up because just the other day I texted her. I said, I think I'm going to pick up around the house while she was at work. Just to kind of, and that seemed to work. That seemed to work pretty good, actually. Yeah.
Tell him if his wedding is at a country club, be sure to lock up all the golf carts. That's good advice.
Oh, yeah. That's good very good advice.
I never thought of that, but that's good. Depending on the bridal party.
Yeah.
The shenanigans. And knowing your crew.
The imports from California are going to keep the bartenders busy. I promise you that.
Yeah, that's good. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be. I assume you've been told that it's the fastest day of your life, your wedding day.
So somebody did mention that to me. Yeah. And I've gotten a couple of the enjoy the moment, try to be present, and I'll try. That's not really my strong suit anyway in my regular day life, but I'll do my very best.
It goes so fast.
Yeah.
Like you can't even, and then it's over. And then everything that you've done for, how many months have you been planning this?
Oh my gosh. A year, over a year, maybe something like that.
Yeah. And then
it's over.
It's over and you're on to the next thing.
Yeah. I definitely want to soak it all in if I can. But of course, you and I were kind of talking about it, off mic. I have an appreciation for the fact that the day is about the bride, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't need any extra attention at all. I want it to be about her. That's totally fine.
Sounds like there's a but there.
No, there's no but there. I'm sure. No, I don't need any extra attention at all. I want the day to be, I'm more so, wanting the day to be great for her more than anything else, really.
It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. They're all good because you got the right people. You're there on your own volition. Is there someone that's officiating the wedding for you? Because I'm a registered wedding officiant.
You have never told me this.
Universal Life Church, buddy. I've done like 10 weddings.
Why didn't you tell me this earlier?
Well, I didn't get invited to the bachelor party. I'm not invited to the wedding. I didn't really want to insert myself into this whole thing.
We could have changed the entire thing now.
Yeah. Well, I'm on call if something goes wrong. So do you have somebody doing it?
We do. We are getting married in a church. Yes.
Oh, a church.
We are going to get married in church and then the reception separate venue.
Got it. All right. Well, if you do the authentic church, if that's your thing. But for people that aren't really into that, what's crazy about being an ordained minister, I'm a man of the cloth, is how little effort and little money it takes to actually be a registered officiant. And I started doing it. It was the first year I did the Gopher sideline job. So that would have been 2011. Because a friend of mine, who's no longer married to that woman. I've lost a couple along the way. I've done a lot of weddings. I've lost a couple along the way.
I hope you didn't beat yourself up about that.
Life happens.
Yeah,
as a man of the cloth, you understand that you have to be there for different reasons for the couple as their wedding marriage journey goes along, right? I've also done a wedding. So 2011 is when I did it. And you go online and you register, universallifechurch.com. You say you want to do it. They send you a certificate. You take the certificate to a county building. You give them like $12.50. They stamp it. You're good. And then you're in charge of, basically mailing the wedding certificate, the marriage certificate into the office. Like, you're in charge of some stuff, but it's remarkably easy. And it's an interesting thing, though. It's fun. It's fun to be a part of for people that do it.
A friend of mine is similar shoes. He's married off a couple of our friends, other friends, actually.
It's great.
Over under 1.5 times, I'm going to introduce you as Justin Gard, man of the cloth on the PJ Flex show this fall.
Over, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I haven't done one in a while. I did it for a bunch of family members, did it for a sister, did it for 2 cousins. I did it once because a couple was going to get married, but needed to get married quickly for insurance purposes.
Oh, okay.
And so I did, and that turned out to be one of the coolest ones. I thought, like, it was on like a Tuesday. Like, I'm just rolling up to this guy's backyard on a Tuesday, but it ended up being like way more emotional than was originally presented to me. It was basically like, we're in a pinch. We're getting married soon, but we want to get married now. We have to get married. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, I could do it. Like, how's Tuesday?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If you have the wedding certificate, marriage certificate, and everything, I can do it. But it was, so I pull up like basically like this, like in my KFAN polo and shorts.
Way to represent.
And I think I had a suit or something. I'm like, oh, this is way more formal. And there's only like half dozen people there. It was a couple of parents, and maybe a brother or sister. And it was, there you go. So, yeah, I could do it.
I've heard of, getting married and having kids for tax purposes. I don't know if I've ever heard about getting married for insurance purposes. That's different.
There you go. But I'm full service. JG at KFAN.com.
Another job in
the
tool belt.
If you're in a pinch. A listener did ask me to do it once at the state fair.
Okay.
And not do it at the state fair. At the state fair, he asked me if I could officiate their wedding. It was a football weekend. I wasn't available to do it, but I would definitely do it.
Have you done one at Huntington Bank, like with Gophers fans?
I haven't.
I think that's probably going to be the next on your list.
That's the next step.
That's the next one.
JG at KFAN.com.
Right there, right before kickoff, get PJ out there. He'd love that.
He would be good at it.
He'd eat that up.
He would be good at it. It is the last thing I'll say about this, because I do want to talk about De'Aaron Fox. Because I say this line, or I said this line, because I'm kind of retired now. I did a lot of my family, and then I said I'm done. But if someone wants to pay me, I'm happy to do it. JG at KFAN.com. My line is, there's one thing in the wedding ceremony that makes it actually like binding, like that actually ties you together. It's basically you and your fiance agreeing that you're doing this on your own volition. It's like the declaration.
No one's forced you to be here or anything like that. Yeah.
Like, you don't even need to do the rings. You don't need to do the vows. All you have to do is, are you here because you want to be Pierre?
I sure am.
Okay. Are you here, Mrs. Pierre, because you want to be here?
Yeah.
I am. Then you go, okay, great. I say it every time and it kills. I go, so every other wedding that has anything more than this, it's all ego. It's all for show. And all they're doing is wasting your time and keeping you from the open bar. People seem to like, it's a variation of that, but it's true.
Oh, 100%
it shows you how much fluff is actually in a wedding.
I've been to enough weddings in my own time that, I completely agree 100%.
All right. De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Should the Timberwolves want him if he is available from the San Antonio Spurs, who just traded for him this last season to pair with Victor Wembanyama? Then they got the second overall pick, the guard from Rutgers, Ron Harper's kid, I think.
Dylan Harper, yeah.
Dylan Harper, very good player.
Yeah.
Seen as a franchise point guard, may have altered their plans. And there's kind of just rumors that if someone calls Greg Popovich and San Antonio and says, De'Aaron Fox, what are you thinking there? You're the Sacramento Kings fan. You watched him in his first stop in the NBA, much to your chagrin, that they traded him away in Halliburton, which we haven't even talked about.
Oh, you and I have a connection on that too, by the way.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. What would you think of that before I tell you what I would think of that?
I would have to, off the top of my head, because I know he recently signed a couple of years ago, I would have to see how the money works out. But if I'm the Wolves, I think that would be a terrific get. Because first and foremost, Mike Conley is not getting any younger, but at the same time too, make no mistake about it, we're all Mike Conley. Everyone's a Mike Conley fan around in this town.
Love that guy.
Just a total pros pro. But even if he was in here right now, he would tell you it's not like they're going to play him more minutes next year.
Right.
And now that Rob Dillingham is not going to be part of a Kevin Durant trade package, I mean, you have a point guard that you're hoping will be a point guard of your future, but at the same time, an unproven commodity. De'Aaron Fox, I think, brings the type of defense, the type of speed, the type of shot making, the type of play creating that I think this team, with him and Ant together in the backcourt, De'Aaron Fox doesn't need to have the ball in his hands a lot. He's more ball dominant than not, for sure. But I think those two would pair well together. I really do.
He has 1 year left on a contract he signed.
Oh, it's only 1 year.
It was a 5-year, 163. Probably his rookie extension.
Was that long ago?
Yeah.
Man, God, I'm getting old.
5-year, 163. The rookie extension that they all sign. He's got 1 year this upcoming season. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. The Spurs had talked about, obviously, bringing him in and signing him to another extension. What's also going to be interesting is what these extensions for guys like him look like moving forward because of how hesitant teams are to pay these guys supermax salaries. Now, we just saw Luka get traded, which is insane. That my preamble to you is I'm obsessed with De'Aaron Fox. I think you know this about me. We probably talked about it.
Yeah.
I've loved him since he was at Kentucky. I love the pace that he plays. I love how he moves. I love how he shoots. I've obviously watched him just crush the Wolves a couple of times over the last few years when he was with the Kings. When Johnny Athletic brought him up, he was in studio, I think, a week ago, kind of teased that name. I perked up. I was sitting where Brett was, looking at the computer like Brett is right now, and not really listening. And all of a sudden I hear De'Aaron Fox, and I spring up, and I go, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That, because, Conley's got some kind of wild card. You have to know he knew this Durant thing was probably a long shot. I would love to see it for all the reasons that you just pointed out. I think he'd be a great bridge between the Conley and Dillingham era. Right? And you could bring him in. He's the starter. Conley can, do what he does when he does it. There's only 1 more year on Conley's contract. He's probably done after this, right?
Probably, yes.
I would, unless he has some type of, but I mean, he's been around forever. He knows this. And then maybe Dillingham is your backup there. And then when Fox is done after a 3 or 4 year extension, whatever it is, then it's Dillingham's turn. I just think he would be perfect with this team because the Wolves do need, as we saw, probably improved point guard play to take another step.
I wouldn't want him as a 1 year rental a la KD like we were talking about in the previous segment. If I do bring De'Aaron Fox here, I would want to try to keep him here for the long term. That's definitely for sure. But with De'Aaron Fox, I think it's interesting because last offseason, I remember Chris Finch going into the offseason and before the season talking about how he wanted his team to play with more pace.
Yeah.
And De'Aaron Fox is the perfect guy to have if you want to play with more pace. I mean, if that's what you want to play with. Now, if De'Aaron Fox is playing on the same floor as Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle, I don't know how much more the pace is going to uptake. It only go up so much with those guys on the floor in terms of how fast you want to play. But if you want to elevate your team's pace of play and bring in a guy who's a great on-ball defender, look no further than number 5. Absolutely. I think he would be a terrific fit here. I think that would be a stellar get for Tim Conley and company.
He's also a guy, and I've seen this from the iHeartMedia seats, which are like 5 rows behind the bench at Target Center. Oh, good for me. In the NBA Cup game 2 years ago, he can close too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like he's not a guy that
clutch player of the year 2 years ago.
Yeah, like he's a guy who can just get to whatever spot he wanted. Now again, this was against the Wolves defense before they kind of figured it out. That night they had Towns chasing Harrison Barnes all over the place.
Right.
Towns was killing him on the other end, just bully balling him. And then just like sprinting around like all these different like serpentine like screens. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem good. And Malik Monk's hitting threes, and it was one of those nights. But late in the game, it was just De'Aaron Fox going off a screen, getting into the elbow and banging a 15-footer. Like that's another thing the Wolves were kind of missing at times. There's a guy who can help you. The Wolves were the least clutch team in the league until they weren't those last handful of playoff games. To have another guy like that, man, I would really look deep into it. I would. Now again, what do you give up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean,
because what does here? Sorry to cut you off.
No.
Because I think a lot of people assumed Rudy or Randall was probably in the deal to Phoenix, right?
Alongside maybe DiVincenzo, maybe
another tradable contract. Who, depending on what you think of all these younger guys, is probably expendable in the future. As helpful as he was at times. Rudy's not appealing to the Spurs. They have Wembanyama, right? They have size. So would it have to be a Randall? Would it have to be a Terrence Shannon? Because then I go, I don't know if I like Terrence Shannon and I like Dillingham. Like I'm kind of protective of these young guys, but if I can have De'Aaron Fox for the next 3 or 4 years, I think I probably have to part with one of those.
You really have to think about it long term because I mean, look at the Clippers right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just won MVP, just won Finals MVP. I mean, not everybody can be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'm not saying that that's what Rob Dillingham is going to be in 5 years down the line. But I would have to imagine as an NBA front office executive, you start to get a little gun shy, particularly with a guy like Rob, who we saw just last year out of nowhere. Tim Connolly just trades up for the number 8 overall pick because they like this guy so much.
I wasn't even watching the draft at that point.
You had no reason to as a Wolves fan at that point.
I pulled in at like pick 11. I'm like, ooh, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
It's right after the show, trying to have dinner, family time, nothing.
But then you have to get into the debate of how much are you weighing potential versus a proven commodity now like De'Aaron Fox, and how much, like going back to that window like we just talked about, if you feel like your window is right here and right now and it's an arms race in the Western Conference, the Western Conference can be its own basketball league as far as I'm concerned. You have to try to match move for move with some of these teams that are just trying to get better. You have to. And so if De'Aaron Fox is available, why not? I think it would be a great swing.
Before we talk a little bit more Timberwolves here in this segment, I've gotten this text a lot, and I understand why, because you and I both are on the Gopher pregame football show. You and I with Ron Johnson are, speaking of oversleeping and being late, just kidding, Ron. I know you're at softball. Calm down. I'm just kidding. Roman Voss, the kid from Jackson County, is announcing his college commitment today at 5:00. And I've gotten the text, I don't know, handful of times here. I've gotten a lot of tweets today. Are you going to talk about Roman Voss's college commitment? Yes, we will. When it happens, 5:00 is when he's expected to make it. He's a do-everything type player. Number 1 rated kid in the state of Minnesota, a top 200 prospect. Ryan Burns has been following him since he was, little Roman Voss, 10 years ago. And he's announcing at 5. The 2 finalists are the University of Minnesota and the Alabama Crimson Tide. It would be a very nice pickup for Philip John Fleck and the Gopher football squad to get another number 1 overall recruit in the state of Minnesota committed. We will be bringing it up during the top 5 at 5 if it happens then, but certainly thereafter. Anything you want to add?
When's the last time you saw it come down to those 2 schools, Minnesota and Alabama?
I don't know if it ever has those 2. I mean, last year it was Minnesota and Ohio State for Coy Parrish, and there's another player who's down to Minnesota and Penn State. Because someone was asking me today, is this like a different heater that PJ's on here lately? Because his recruiting's been really good. He just flipped
the quarterback over the weekend. Yeah.
Modern Day High School. Yeah. You're a California guy. That's a pretty good high school.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good high school. Produced a ton of great athletes over the years.
I think 3 Heisman Trophy winners, quarterbacks, have come from that school.
I think that's correct.
Including Matt Leinart.
Yep.
And they said, what's the heater? I said, well, he's recruited really well the last couple of years. He's recruited fine his whole time here. He's a good recruiter. And when you have revenue share and you have improved NIL and you have summer recruiting visits for northern schools and Lake Minnetonka's in play, that's a good combination. So, but I do think, and you've hosted the show now, the last 4 years?
3 years.
So you've been around him. How much has he talked about just being here this long? I think he's entering year 9. And people seeing this is kind of what the program is. We all remember 2019, but just good, solid, consistent. Obviously, last year had great ups, had some downs, bowl game, the whole bit. You're here for a while, people get to know you, and all of a sudden he's rattled off 5 or 6 number 1 Minnesota recruits. Jackson Howard came on the bounce back from LSU, but he's here now, and he's going to be an important player on the team this year. I do think that cultural sustainability phrase, which you and I have heard how many times? 1,000?
I would say a little bit more than that.
I think it has a lot to do with the success that they've had here this summer, and now even talking about flipping a 2027 QB.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I think, listen, you and I have had this conversation on this very show numerous times. Whether if you're a Gopher fan or not a Gopher fan, whatever you think of PJ and what he does and what his message is, it's not for you. It's for these kids. And a lot of times, I've been around different programs through the course of my career. These kids, the guys that he finds, the players that he finds, not only are they great football players, but nobody really gets in trouble. They graduate a lot, and there's something to be said for that. So, whatever PJ Fleck is doing in terms of, and you got to compete with Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, as we just heard, Alabama,
Oregon, USC.
Yeah, this is a really, really difficult landscape. I don't envy PJ and anybody on the staff who's out there recruiting. I don't envy them at all because it is a tall uphill battle when you're fighting against some of these teams. But to his credit, he's found the right guys, the right fit for the program more often than not. So if he's able to flip a number one Minnesota, or not flip him, but get a number one Minnesota recruit to stay home,
another one,
that's something better than what we've seen in terms of the basketball program over the last handful of years or so.
Man, Williams Arena catching strays.
I mean, hey,
catching strays from my guy Nouj.
We'll see how it changes.
Say that to Nico's face.
We'll see how it changes with Nico. And I feel bad even saying it because Ben was such a nice guy, but at the same time, it just that program has had a tough time keeping in-state talent here.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast that I go. I've gone off on that for 10 years. I'm not going to. And guess what? Nico's going to have trouble doing it too. They all do.
I'm sure.
Yeah, they all do. Just get good players, right?
Please.
Just get good players from wherever they are. That's I don't care if they're from Wayzata or Totino Grace. I really don't care. Can they score? Can they play positionless basketball? Can they get us in the NCAA tournament?
It's a sad state of affairs at the barn, and it can't continue like this.
I don't think it will. All right. So that's the Roman Voss update. 5 o'clock is when that's coming down. But it is fun, like you say.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota, Alabama hasn't happened very often.
I can't imagine.
And Minnesota, Ohio State didn't happen a ton. I think of Carter Coughlin, Eden Prairie, who obviously is in the NFL now, went off to a great career. It was basically between those two from what I heard.
Right.
And the beautiful part about recruiting in 2025, even if they lose today, Roman Voss could be here next year.
That's absolutely true.
I mean, he could be playing here as soon as next season, even if he doesn't. So I have no inside intel. I haven't even talked to Bernsey about it. I'm sure he probably knows. He's probably shipping the hats to the house. That's how locked in Bernsey is.
Right.
Wolves in our final couple of minutes this segment, and we'll maybe talk some Vikings after this. The decisions that have to be made with Naz Reid, Julius Randle, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I was reading a lot today. Because Randall has a player option for $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
Naz has one for $15 million. It seems like Naz is going to opt out, which he probably should. It seems like Randall, more people think he's likely to opt in than opt out, and that's not because of anything other than nobody has any money this season to spend other than your Brooklyn Nets. So what do you think is best case scenario or most likely scenario with those three, the triumvirate of Randall, Naz, and Nah being on the Wolves next season?
First and foremost, I want to point out how I was on this very show 2 or 3 years ago when we were discussing the same situation with Naz Reid, and I was on this show thinking, and I'm pretty sure I said verbatim, I think Naz Reid is gone. I thought there was no way Naz Reid was going to re-sign here, and he ended up re-signing here, which, of course, the fan base loves him. He's a living legend in this town. So this time around, though, I might be doubling down, but in terms of just because he opts out doesn't mean he won't be back. They'll have to get creative about it, obviously. But I think Naz will opt out. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is probably going to be getting a bigger payday somewhere else. I'd love to see the guy back. He's just a great guy to talk to. He's a great guy to have on your team. I have a feeling that he probably has outpriced himself.
Yep.
For Minnesota. Julius Randle, I have the hardest time with Julius Randle. I have the hardest time with this one because you're absolutely right. All we've heard the last couple of months is nobody has any money. No teams have any money. So if Julius wants to opt out, and he had a great stretch of basketball after he came back from the injury in February, and I think Julius has made himself a little more money with his play. So in my heart, I'm thinking, well, maybe you probably should opt out. It might be better for you. But if the market is dried up out there, $30 million is still $30 million. And, you really kind of caught traction after you came back from the injury. The team started to gel a little bit better. Maybe run that back one more time with Julius. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I that's the toughest one for me. That's the toughest. I'm not sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, because The Athletic put out a big free agent story, and they kind of talked about what the options would be for the Wolves and for specific. They did it for all three, but I agree with you. I don't see how there's any way that makes sense to bring back the two bigs and Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
I don't see how that happens.
And I think you need to prioritize bringing back the bigs over Nickeil Alexander-Walker, specifically because you have all these younger guards that at some point you got to let go to see what they're going to be, right? And like Terrence Shannon needs to play more.
Sure.
Right? He probably should play more.
Even said he's going to be part of the rotation more in the next year.
Jalen Clark should play more,
sure.
Right? What a great draft pick that was, waiting out his injury, drafting him in the second round out of UCLA. And obviously you traded up to pick Rob Dillingham. You just referenced it into the top 10 and gave up a substantial amount to do that. So those three are going to have to find minutes. So I'm okay with, and I love Nouj too. I mean,
great guy. Great guy.
I said this during the Western Conference Finals. As much as I don't like how Shea plays, and I don't love how every player has a podcast now, and former players.
Sure, yeah.
Specifically Gilbert Arenas, who somehow keeps getting platformed. Like he was on some other big show today where I'm just like, why? Yeah. Dan Patrick. I'm like, Dan Patrick, what are we doing, Dan? You can probably hear it tonight immediately following this show if you want. I would listen to an SGA Nickeil Alexander-Walker podcast.
No doubt about it.
Because those two, I just think they're so thoughtful. They're interesting. Like they care about what they're saying. You've been in enough scrums, right? To know this individual does not care what I'm asking and has no care about what they're saying to anybody. Nouj and SGA could not be any further from that, right?
Insightful is the word.
I would 100%. Love to listen to that podcast. I loved how his neighbors were like making him signs and balloons and chalk at his yard. It was the Kirk Cousins shoveling the snow, or Case Keenum shoveling the snow story of 2025. It was great, but I just don't see a world where those three all come back. And Nouj, I think, has to be the one that is the least likely, in my opinion, because of the finances. The Athletic guy talks about Randall, potentially just playing it out and saying $30 million this year because he probably can't get more than that in this open market. Maybe he could get 20 to 25 for 3 or 4 more years, get more total money.
Sure.
Nouj will definitely opt out. It's just a matter of then do the Wolves sign him back? And something they can do is they can do an opt-in and extend deal, actually, that tacks on 4 years and $94 million with a 4th-year player option in return for locking in next year at $15 million. And then it'd be a total package of $109 million over 5 years. So just over $20 million a year. Do you think that is doable for both sides, assuming also that they want to bring Randall back on his player option or a contract similar to that? Because they're probably going to be in the same ballpark.
I think it's doable. But the next question, if that does happen in terms of Naz Reid, my next question would be, well, you're paying him starter type money.
Yeah.
So where are we in terms of what we think Naz's role and maybe how much bigger it can get? Can it get bigger? Does he step into? What does that look like? Because if you're going to pay him starter type money, then what? How exactly is this going to play out? Like I said, Tim's got a lot of hoops to jump through here. Sorry, pardon the pun, but I mean, Naz is the most interesting situation. I'm with you. I think Nickeil is probably going to be leaving. Julius, I think $30 million is the max value he's going to get in terms of next year's salary for sure. Is he willing to sacrifice $5 million for more of a longer extension or a longer term deal elsewhere, whether it's here or elsewhere? Maybe, but if he wants that big payday in terms of 30 as opposed to 20 to 25, man's got a family to feed just like the rest of us. 30 million. 30, it is.
And it continues to grow.
30 million is better than 25.
Family to feed? Are you just like the rest of us? Are you teasing something there?
Shout out Spree.
Okay, got you. All right, let's pause. One more segment with Pierre. We've got Johnny Athletic about an hour from now. A ton more Wolves conversation there. We'll pivot, talk a little bit of Vikings when we come back, and who knows? Pierre's always got some pet peeves that we want to get to.
I got a couple things.
I'm sure he's got a long list to fire off before he gets out.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
The last thing anyone wants is to leave behind confusion, stress, or worse, family conflict. That's why estate planning isn't just for the wealthy. It's for families like mine, and probably like yours. With Trust and Will, I created my estate plan in minutes. From naming guardians for my kids to putting our house in a trust to avoid probate. Fast, affordable, and way easier than I thought. Every plan is designed by estate planning attorneys and customized for your state. Plans start at just $199 and include essentials like healthcare directives and power of attorney. With Trust and Will's bank-level security and built-in privacy protections, your personal information and your wishes stay safe. Whether you're newly married, raising kids, caring for aging parents, or just want peace of mind, Trust and Will makes it easy to protect what matters most. Go to trustandwill.com, use code RADIO at checkout, and save 20% on your personalized plan. Because there's no better time to protect the people you love. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal can help you find and finance the right vehicle with ease. And this summer, you're in the driver's seat with savings. You can get a $250 bonus when you buy your next car through Navy Federal's car buying service, powered by TrueCar and financed with Navy Federal. With this tool, you can find the vehicle that's right for you as you search through inventory and compare models. And you could get an amazing rate when you finance with Navy Federal. Navy Federal strives to support all active duty, veterans, and their families to achieve their personal and financial goals. And this partnership with TrueCar is one of the many tools Navy Federal uses to help its members. Make your plan with Navy Federal and TrueCar today. Navy Federal Credit Union. To qualify for the $250 bonus, car purchase and financing must be completed by September 2nd, 2025. Terms and conditions apply and are available at NavyFederal.org/TrueCar. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
Out of here at Fox.
KFAN.
Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. To enter keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Bonus Bucks is presented by BigDeck.com. In fact, the keyword for this hour is grand. The keyword grand. KFAN.com, keyword grand.
Football Talk, Pierre Nugent, put out a list today, and this is maybe my favorite list that I've seen in a while. I want your thoughts on this, and I got to pull it up here because the Wi-Fi on my laptop went down, so I'm taking an L there, so I'm going to pull it up on the fly. But I remember where the Vikings were on this list. The list was post-minicamp NFL power rankings.
Oh, thank God.
Post-minicamp NFL power rankings. We were all waiting for them. I mean, it's June 23rd. You're running a football website. You got to get some clicks, right?
I get it.
I mean, we're all making our own weather here a little bit. It's, again, June 23rd. The NBA Finals just wrapped up. Stanley Cup Finals are done. Twins, we haven't even brought them up today. I don't see a scenario where we do, except for top 5, right, Brett Blakemore?
Correct.
That's really the only, other than just say, it's over, Johnny. It has not gone well since Pablo Lopez got hurt. But your Minnesota Vikings, and I say that for us as Minnesotans, because I know you're a big Dolphins fan somehow, even though you grew up in Sacramento.
It's not something I brag about.
Where do you think Mike Florio, or whoever wrote this for Pro Football Talk, had the Vikings in their post-minicamp power rankings? Not to be confused with their pre-minicamp power rankings, because I'm sure there was a lot of ebb and flow after all those unnecessary practices. Where did he have the Vikings in the post-minicamp power rankings?
If I had to take a guess, they're probably sitting, and I have not seen this list. If I had to take a guess, I probably would put
Don't lie. I know you wait for these every year.
Well, I would probably put them in between the 8 and 12 range, probably somewhere in there, but I would have them, let's put the Vikings let's put them at 9.
The Tampa Bay Bucks are at 9. And actually, I'm glad I pulled this up because they are lower than I originally thought. I thought he had them at 10. He has them at 12.
12, okay.
So your original guess between 8 and 12 was good. And I think that's a fair representation. And his bit, and I use this only as a jumping off point for the conversation, his sentence on the Vikings, I think, is apt. And he just puts a little sentence for every team. A proven roster with an unproven quarterback could make for a roller coaster of a season.
The end.
As we're going to say Friday night at 9:30 on Fox 9, enough said.
Yeah.
Right? That is the story.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's one of the most highly anticipated Viking seasons in a really long time. One that has, I think, the most curiosity in a really long time. A year ago at this time, it was, when is J.J. McCarthy going to play? Mm-hmm. And given that we're all sports talk cliches, the easiest thing to say was, well, after they play the Jets in London, they're going to have the bye. They'll probably be 1-4, 1-5. He'll have an extra week to get ready for the Lions, right? We all said it.
Right.
We're all just going to be. It's not that difficult to do this. But now we know he's going to play unless he gets hurt. So, but I thought that was a pretty apt description of why this Viking season is so intriguing.
Absolutely. Just the other day, we at Fox 9, we do this town ball tour event, and we go around to different town balls every Wednesday. I was out there in Avon last Wednesday. I had so many people come up to me just to want to talk about the Vikings. They said, and all of them, to a T, said, we can't wait for the season.
Yep.
It wasn't so much, there wasn't much pessimism, and there wasn't like, I don't know, how do you think they're going to? No, everybody came up to me and said, we think J.J. McCarthy is going to be great. We think the Vikings are going to be awesome. We think the Vikings could do big things this year. Everybody is excited about this team. But as you just read, off of, what was the Pro Football Talk?
Pro Football Talk, yep.
That's exactly, the situation that we find ourselves in. You look around the roster, especially on paper, top to bottom, there's a lot to like. There's a lot to like about this roster. Coaching staff on top of it, too. But you have the unproven commodity at the most important position, not just in the sport, maybe in all of pro sports. So that's why my excitement level can't really get there because I don't know what I'm getting with J.J. McCarthy yet.
What's amazing is, and we've talked about this on the show the last few weeks, because of the breathless reporting, and I'm sure you've had to be out there, right?
I was out there the first 2 days.
Yes, and so you've had to do the reports from, you guys always like to do them right on top of TCO Stadium there. It's a nice backdrop.
Right.
You've got the scoreboard. Speaking of cliches again.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got that whole bit going. And everybody wants to know, how's JJ looking? And then you go, and JJ doesn't know where the lack of arm strength came from. Then you roll the clip, right? Yeah. And then go, well, I'll tell you what, Randy and Kelsey, the throws I was looking at today, I don't know where that came from either. Back to you in the studio. But he's got a weird amount of pressure on him for a guy that's never taken a meaningful snap in the National Football League.
Well, and then he throws 2 interceptions in minicamp, and then all of a sudden, and people just want to melt down the internet about how terrible he is. And I'm sitting here thinking, this might come as a surprise to you, JG, but I never played pro sports in my life, but I did play a decent amount of youth sports. I remember this thing that we did called practice, where you can make mistakes in practice, so you hopefully don't make them in the game. And my coaches would never melt down. I mean, they would correct the mistakes I would make in practice, but they wouldn't have like this meltdown, like, you're trash, I'm getting rid of you because how dare you make a mistake. No, this is what I don't understand, especially this is the critique that our business needs to be open to hearing. We can't overreact to 2 interceptions thrown in minicamp. Is that a good thing to happen? No, it's not. But at the same time, I'm not going to freak out about it because this kid, for all intents and purposes, is having a second rookie season. So why don't we pump the brakes a little bit on mistakes that are made in minicamp? I'll wait to see how it looks like in training camp and into the preseason. I think we have a little bit better of indication of how things will look for him when he goes up against 11-on-11 drills. But, I'm excited to see what he's able to bring to the table, but I'm a natural pessimist, as you know. I'm cautiously optimistic.
I know you're not a dad yet.
Not yet.
But that speech you just gave, like, if I could fast forward your life, like that, what you just said is what I've said to all of my children, specifically the older 2, about practice.
Right.
And I've never heard a media member say that, because you're 100% right. You just, like, practice is where you're supposed to make mistakes.
Right.
And by the way, the practices that we see, there's a reason why we get to see them. They're mostly meaningless.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's kind of for the next town ball. When people come up to ask you, how's J.J. McCarthy looking, you can say, well, here's what I've seen. In the limited amount of meaningless practice that they've allowed me to see, here are a couple of my observations. Here's what they like about him. But that is so right about practice. And I can't believe it hadn't been until this moment that I made that connection in my own mind that you're supposed to not look great in practice. Practice is supposed to be hard. The part of it is so that you do make mistakes and learn from them. Then the game is easier. You're ready for fatherhood and marriage, man.
I can't wait.
You are all ready. It took 40-some years, but whatever you did at that Las Vegas trip and that last pool party, it clicked.
Last call for sin out there in Vegas, I tell you what.
Whatever Getty was spinning that night was the message that you needed to hear. What's his name?
David Guetta.
Guetta.
I loved his address.
I like his images.
We work with a photographer out of Fox 9. His nickname is Getty. Funny enough, I said, in my mind, I was like, how do you know Getty?
I thought his name was Goody. No, Goody.
We have a Goody and a Getty.
Well, that's real helpful.
Yeah, I know.
That's helpful to the guy who parachutes in once a week, trying to remember everybody's names. But I'm curious. We won't go hardcore football because it is June 23rd, but I think it's a fascinating division. Like last year, the division was just insane, right?
Yeah.
You've got to win and in, 15-2, 14-3 possibility. Last game of the regular season, Ford Field. We know it didn't go very well for the Vikings. They lose, and they get run out of Arizona playing the Rams because of the wildfires.
Right.
The Packers playoff team, they probably think they're going to be in the mix as well. But I do think, there's so many questions about all the teams that were good last year. And, the Bears think they're going to make a play here, too, with, their quarterback, their new coach. They've got some offensive line reinforcements. Lions lose a couple of coordinators. Packers, I think, are going to be good again as well. Brett can chime in there.
Lions lose their starting center, too.
Lost their starting center. That's right. Yeah, one of us, local angle.
That's right.
They're ranked, for the record, 5th, the Lions, in the Pro Football Talk post-minicamp power rankings. The Green Bay Packers, Brett, I'm sure you already looked. Once I brought it up to see where they are.
I may have sneaked a peek, yeah.
Oh, you're such a rube. They're 11. Had you heard about the rankings before I brought them up?
No.
Okay, good. Good for you. I'm glad.
Yeah, I was not looking.
They are 11, one spot in front of the Vikings, and then the Bears are 17. But I think there's so many interesting questions about all four teams
no doubt.
In this division this year.
I think, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think the team I'm most excited to watch this season in that division is Chicago.
Because?
Because I think I want to see the next evolution of Caleb Williams, because there's not going to be any more excuse for him. I wasn't high on him coming out of college for a couple of reasons, but the revamped offensive line that Chicago has, I think they did a great job rebuilding that offensive line. Ben Johnson, does he get a chance to prove that he can be a head coach and not just a hotshot coordinator? That's another element of it. I'd like to see how it all unfolds. And the Bears for so long have just been this team that every once in a while you see them kind of come up on the up and up just to make the playoffs, maybe even have a first home field advantage at some point or another, just to see it all come crashing back down to earth. And is Caleb Williams the guy to maintain, or not, I shouldn't say maintain, but get to a level of success, maintain it, and even go a little bit farther? I still have a little bit of doubt, but I like what he brings to the table, but it's the Bears. It's the Bears. So we just kind of have to see if luck is a little bit more on their side these days.
What do you make of the information that it seems like the Vikings not only were cool with playing back-to-back games in international waters, but that they allegedly pursued it quite vociferously and said, we'll do it. We'd love to go to Dublin and then London.
Yeah, that's surprising. The fact that you wanted to do it that way, I'm just as surprised. I think the one benefit that you have is, obviously, with the time change and all that, you get to stay in the UK for an extra. Is Ireland in the UK? I don't even know. Are they bright? No,
you're the world traveler from the two of us.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm driving to Wisconsin next week. I don't know anything about Dublin.
But Dublin and London, same time zones.
Ireland is in the United Kingdom.
Okay,
if I remember correctly.
Was it Scotland?
I think Northern Ireland is in the UK.
Oh, I didn't know Rand McNally was on the show today. That's nice. It's nice to meet. Is it really?
Well, yeah, there was a pretty big dispute between
Scotland
Ireland and England.
Was Scotland part of the the whole Brexit situation? I don't know. Brett, can you tell me that? We'll look that up later.
Time. Go ahead.
Anyway, odd choice, but at the same time, I get it on some level in terms of being acclimated to the time change and where you're at.
And you're not giving up home games either, right?
You're not.
I mean, you're giving up 2 road games, if I understand it correctly. So I think that's probably part of the reason why, we have to fly, 12 hours somewhere, but we don't have to go play, Pittsburgh in Heinz Field.
And you get the bye on the way back, right?
I would imagine so.
I'm pretty sure they have a bye in week 6, if I'm not mistaken. So
schedule's right in front of Brett. When he's done looking at Packers.com/power rankings, he can nod his head and tell us yes, that's all good. There were a couple other things I wanted to get to at the end. Oh, because you are a Kings fan.
Yes.
How did you...
Again, something else I don't brag about.
I want to bring it back to the NBA here for the final 6 or 7 minutes before we pause and do the top 5 at 5, which might include a recruiting announcement as it pertains to Golden Gopher football. We shall see at the top of the hour. How have you taken the Tyrese Halliburton emergence for the Indiana Pacers? And I know the answer because you're a human. When he crumbles last night with the Achilles, what an L for that magical ride that, who knows what would have happened last night. We'll never know, but we do know that we're not going to see him play anywhere. Yeah. Indy, Sacramento, or wherever for, a year and change.
Boy, and just as a side conversation, him, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum. Yeah. These three guys going to be out for next season with how late the injury. Right. That's just a real bummer for the NBA. Real bummer for those guys. But to answer your question, I actually want to pull the curtain back just a minute because a lot of these people that are listening probably don't know this. Justin and I were recording, if I'm not mistaken, an episode of Enough Said a couple of years ago. And it was the day before the NBA trade deadline. We were in the studio and Justin asked me how I felt about maybe what the Kings might do. And I said to him, boy, if they trade Tyrese Halliburton, I am not going to be pleased. And sure enough, when we were done with the taping, I walked upstairs. So this is probably about 45 minutes between the beginning of the conversation and when I found out that Tyrese Halliburton had been traded. And you texted me later that day. I'm taking it better than probably a lot of other Kings fans are taking it because, listen, Domantas Sabonis is not a scrub. Domantas Sabonis is a guy, and a guy who, over the last few years, has given Rudy Gobert fits, and a guy who can pass the ball, move, shoot. Domantas Sabonis is not some bum that the Kings made a blunderous trade for. In the context of the trade, I think, it probably didn't go their way. But let's not sit here and pretend like Domantas Sabonis isn't a guy, because he is. He is. As far as his future with the team is now, I'm not as optimistic about it anymore, given the changing landscape of that team and how horrendously they've done in terms of assembling that team around him now. But, sad to see Tyrese Halliburton go because you saw the talent almost right away. But I'm not losing sleep over the fact that we traded Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis. I'm not.
I was enjoying the conversation so much, I completely forgot to break like 7 minutes ago.
So there you have it.
We're going to do that, come back, have a short segment before the top five. If we weren't looking at power rankings for minicamp, we would have done this on time and been professionals, but it's never stopped us before to not be professional.
The last thing anyone wants is to leave behind confusion, stress, or worse, family conflict. That's why estate planning isn't just for the wealthy. It's for families like mine, and probably like yours. With Trust and Will, I created my estate plan in minutes, from naming guardians for my kids to putting our house in a trust to avoid probate. Fast, affordable, and way easier than I thought. Every plan is designed by estate planning attorneys and customized for your state. Plans start at just $199 and include essentials like healthcare directives and power of attorney. With Trust and Will's bank-level security and built-in privacy protections, your personal information and your wishes stay safe. Whether you're newly married, raising kids, caring for aging parents, or just want peace of mind, Trust and Will makes it easy to protect what matters most. Go to trustandwill.com, use code RADIO at checkout, and save 20% on your personalized plan. Because there's no better time to protect the people you love. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
This episode is brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal can help you find and finance the right vehicle with ease. And this summer, you're in the driver's seat with savings. You can get a $250 bonus when you buy your next car through Navy Federal's car buying service, powered by TrueCar and financed with Navy Federal. With this tool, you can find the vehicle that's right for you as you search through inventory and compare models. And you could get an amazing rate when you finance with Navy Federal. Navy Federal strives to support all active duty, veterans, and their families to achieve their personal and financial goals. And this partnership with TrueCar is one of the many tools Navy Federal uses to help its members. Make your plan with Navy Federal and TrueCar today. Navy Federal Credit Union. To qualify for the $250 bonus, car purchase and financing must be completed by September 2nd, 2025. Terms and conditions apply and are available at NavyFederal.org/TrueCar. Credit and collateral subject to approval. Navy Federal is insured by NCUA.
Fan.
The Lynx look to stay hot on their streak tomorrow night as they face off with the Washington Mystics. Catch every play, every bucket, all the action right here on the Fan at 7, or as always on the Lynx station on the free iHeartRadio app.
All right. Just atrocious clock management. But it was because I was enjoying talking to Pierre Nugent, our in-studio guest from Fox 9 Sports. He's going to be with me on Enough Said this Friday. Guardian for Barreiro for much of this week. Russo Radio will be in Thursday. We've got Top 5 at 5 just moments away. So we talked a lot of Wolves, talked a little bit of Vikings. We don't need to talk about the Twins, although you were there the other night. I saw you Friday night.
Friday night I was there, yeah.
Friday night. You had to take a live shot after Lori Fisher had thrown a baby at Randy Meyer.
Right.
I looked up, and all I see on the screen on Channel 9 is, relax, Brett, she didn't actually throw him. We lost Brett for a second.
It's like, what?
And Lori, who we have on Enough Said, she runs the show, was field producing and is just holding a baby next to anchorman Randy Meyer, and he not really knowing what to. He has no choice but to take the baby.
Sure.
And then they throw it to you on the field.
Yeah.
And I know how much you love live shots in general, but certainly coming out hot like that. How was that?
I think it worked out okay. I mean, that was probably the best individual to hand a baby to. Randy has 5 children.
Yes.
I mean, they're all grown now, but if there's anybody who has experience with babies, it's Randy Meyer, that's for sure.
My new favorite thing in the weather business is we all know about, pulling your sleeves up, rolling your sleeves up when it's severe weather.
Yeah.
Nobody does that better than Ian Leonard,
Nope.
we know. And in all seriousness, we have fun with the sleeves up. Ian is so good at breaking weather. It's ridiculous.
I know.
It's insane. One time I accidentally interrupted him during a Gopher pregame show because my mic was made hot, if you recall, while we were sitting there, and I started talking about my RV trips to people that were just trying to get the storm. It was before the North Carolina game. That was fun. Glad I didn't swear because I usually am on that set.
Oh, man.
Where was I going with that? Oh, but when one of the most recent storms, they threw it to Randy in the studio, and he had gotten there in such a hurry he couldn't tie his tie. So we had the sleeves up, and then we had the tie untied. Very dramatic TV effects. So now I stay sky aware, stay tie aware.
That's well played. And yeah, if you see us looking disheveled on the air, that's actually just a good sign of us working hard for you. So just keep that in mind.
All right. We've got like 3 minutes because I blew everything, unfortunately. But you always come in, whether they're Pierre's pet peeves or Pierre's problems.
Yeah,
you always come in. It's kind of like a Festivus for you.
For sure.
You've got a lot of problems with you people.
Yep.
And
100%.
Unfortunately, maybe this was strategic by me to not let you alienate the entire audience, but just take it wherever you want with something that's been bothering you lately that you feel like needs to be addressed publicly.
Well, I wouldn't say this necessarily is bothering me, but I was, I had an errand run. I got my pupils dilated before I came in here. And I had a little bit of time to kill. There's 40,000 Starbucks in this town. We can't get another Jamba Juice. Jamba Juice have you had Jamba Juice?
I'm not a big juice guy.
Okay, well, listen, Jamba Juice, it's not so much juice as it's just like a big packet of sugar, like packed with juice. And we need more Jamba Juices in this town. Shout out Jamba Juice out there. We just need more of them.
Where's the Jamba Juice you frequent?
The closest one is in Edina, but I was coming from uptown.
That checks out.
To go to, and I was like, well, can I make it from uptown to Edina and then over to the radio station in time? I don't think I can because of all the traffic that continues to pile up with 494 closed.
Man.
And everything else, getting slowed down the way it is. I was going to come in here with a little bit of airline, etiquette talk. The only thing I'll say is on my way back from San Jose a couple of weeks ago, when we were exiting, I was sitting in Comfort Plus, as you know I normally do, because I have to.
As expected.
We're happy for you. Yeah, my fiance is sitting in the middle seat. I was sitting in the window seat. We're getting out. We're deplaning. And you can clearly see that we're sitting together. She exits the row, and these two yahoos behind us scoot up and cut me off from getting out of my exit row. And, not that I necessarily need to be directly next to my fiance, but at the same time, I said something very audible and very rude and very inappropriate that was absolutely heard by everyone in the general vicinity.
Good for you.
These two clowns couldn't be bothered to turn around. I know you heard me. You gutless coward couldn't turn around and know that you were absolutely in the wrong to come up from God knows what row you did to cut me off as I'm getting off the plane.
Maybe they had a connection to make.
I don't care. Here's the thing. The flight attendant will say, folks, we landed late. We have some people who may need to make a connection. If you could please, if you don't have a connection, can you please stand off in the side?
But that doesn't stop people.
Oh, absolutely.
That doesn't stop anybody.
We all have a connection to make. We all have to use the bathroom. You coming up from row 25 trying to barrel over me while I'm trying to get off the plane. Wait your freaking turn, for God's sake. God, I can't get on a plane with you people. It's awful.
Oh, I don't think that's that polarizing. I think most people agree with you, but yet most people still do it. Or it still happens on every flight. That's a pretty universal Pierre's problem that we've never figured out the solution for.
No, this is there's a whole laundry list of things when it comes to air travel that we can go over, but that's probably something for a different show.
Well, you mentioned that we all have a connection to make.
I do.
And I'm glad that we made the connection all those years ago, Pierre.
Look at that. How about that?
I could write for TV.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, is that enough cheese for the television teleprompter
honestly,
for you guys?
I'm a little worried. You might be taking my job soon enough.
You are the best. I will see you Friday, and best of luck this week with any final wedding preparations that you need to get going before you get married in August. And I'm still available as a man of the cloth. UniversalLifeChurch.com. If something falls through with your actual reverend, I can dust off the certificate. It's somewhere in my guest bedroom / office / room where my stuff goes.
Keep your phone handy.
I will be there for you. Thanks, man.
All right, man.
Pierre Nugent, Fox 9 Sports. You can watch them 4, 5, 6, and 10 anytime on Fox Local. It's a free and very easy to use app, just like the iHeartRadio app. We've got Johnny Athletic coming up at 5:30, but first, the top 5 at 5.
We're on Voss Watch.